to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. This is the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell County Courthouse. In front of us, we have an agenda. Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell Courthouse. In front of us, we have an agenda. Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell Courthouse.
Do we have any motions to approve the agenda?
In front of us,
So moved.
we have an agenda. Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell Courthouse.
Second. All those in favor say aye. The agenda?
Aye.
Those
So
opposed
moved.
say
Have an
nay.
agenda. Supervisors meeting at the
Moving
Mitchell
on.
Courthouse.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
July 27th meeting, excuse me.
Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, do we have any motions to
Approve Tuesday, July 27th, 2021's meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Mark has made a motion to approve the minutes,
I'll second.
and Todd has seconded. Any further comments?
Roll call, Mark,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
And the minutes have been approved. Moving on. County Attorney General discussion. Mark, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Do you have anything for us?
Just a couple things. I think everybody's aware Dave's doing a good job and Rachel's doing a good job of getting those consent signed. There's a couple left, and we, of course, run into a situation where there's one owner and somebody else is living there and they don't want to sign, but it sounds like so far everybody's been willing to sign. We just have to add a few names to it, feel that everything's going well there. Then, you're not going to hear me say this very often, but I was wrong. A few weeks ago, I told you that salaried employees could not be required to punch a time clock. I did some more research on that, and salaried employees can be required to punch a time clock. You just have to be careful, because if they are making less than $47,476 per year, and that's the magic number, and you make them punch a time clock, then they have to be paid overtime pay. So, yes, you can make them punch a time clock, but you have to be careful. First, you look at what their salary is. If it's more than that, you can make them punch a time clock, and you don't have to pay them anything additional. But if it's less than that, and you make them punch a time clock, then you have to pay them for overtime. So I was wrong with what I had told you, that they couldn't be required to punch a clock. They can be required to punch a clock. Still no ruling on Caphart. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Can you repeat the $47,000 number?
$47,476.
Okay.
They're what's considered exempt and non-exempt employees.
Thank you.
Anybody who's over 47,476 is considered exempt, which means you don't have to pay them for overtime if you make them punch a clock. Non-exempt, you have to pay for overtime if you make them punch a clock.
Okay, Steve, does any, Sheriff?
Mark, can you clarify that for me in the sheriff's office being an elected position on my salaried workers? My question is, do they have to punch the clock just like a department that has a department head that's hired or appointed by the board?
That's totally up to you, because they're your employees, you're an elected official, and you can set your own rules.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Mark? I don't see anybody. I guess that's it, Mark. There's no other comments or questions for you, so thank you. Moving on, Sheriff update. Sheriff?
I guess I don't have too much. Statesville went by, and it's County Fair Week, so we'll be down there. And I still have the Tahoe, whatever Rich is gonna decide.
We're still talking about whether it fit in our, we're still thinking about it, but give us a little bit of time here. We're trying to figure out where we want pickups, and we might want to upgrade the foreman trucks. We can put the foreman trucks into the 3/4 ton. We do a lot of pulling in our half tons, get beat up on the trailers, so we might still do it.
Okay. Really, that's all I've got. I do have some questions on the HVAC when we get to that portion of the meeting, but that's all I have unless you guys have questions for me or someone here does.
Looks pretty quiet, Sheriff.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, department head discussion, and I don't see only Rich and the sheriff, and they're not jumping up and down. So we'll move on from department head discussion to county engineer update.
Good morning. Got a
Good
couple
morning.
of things. They have all the pile driven in the north abutment on the Y bridge this morning. They're having trouble getting bearing on two of them, so we gotta do some. They did a retap. We might have to add on to pile. It's weird that they can get over a dozen pile to meet and then two won't, but they might hit a crevice somewhere in the rock. Had the weed commissioner apps came in. We got 4 applications, and looking at qualifications, it's kind of a toss-up what we want to do. I don't know. Do you guys want to see all the applications that came in, since the weed commissioner is going to be working for the board too, or not? Probably makes sense. I don't know. I can certainly give them to you guys to look at. I haven't scheduled any interviews with anybody yet. I've been told that there's one individual that we are past the deadline, but I don't know that somebody wanted to turn in an application late. We haven't found, I guess nobody's really blown me out of the water yet, but I mean, there's people that are capable of it that are in here, so didn't know whether we could wait. I don't know, Mark, if even if we put an advertisement out, can we still accept them after a deadline?
Mark, are you there, county attorney?
I'm here. The question was, can you accept late application?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll see if that one comes in yet, but I can forward you guys at least the names and or whatever if you guys want to look at them, because the weed commissioner is where you guys kind of jump in on the whole thing. This is a unique position where we're kind of sharing an employee, but I think you guys probably want to look at them too.
Okay.
So I'll get that to you this week. I'll just email you. I'll scan things in and email them to you if that's okay. Mark, does that work, or do I need to do something different with that? I don't want to violate anything here.
I couldn't hear all that.
I'm sorry. We have applications in for the weed commissioner / roadside manager, which is a shared position between secondary roads and the board of supervisors. And what I'm asking is, it should be okay for me to submit or to give the board the applications that I've received so they can review them also?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'll do that then.
Now, the only thing is, and some of you are aware of this just because of Mitchell County Economic Development Commission, job applications are considered confidential, and those are not supposed to be released or discussed with the public. mean, when somebody applies, you can certainly discuss it at a meeting, but the actual document itself is not to be disclosed.
Sure. Or even the name for that matter.
I think you can disclose that. But
We're not there yet, I guess, so.
the code just said the applications themselves are confidential.
Okay.
Well, the code doesn't say that, the Iowa Supreme Court is saying.
All right. Well, I'll share the applications with the board since they are part of the employer when it comes to this position.
Yep, the board just shouldn't say, you know, share them, hey, can I see a copy of so-and-so? Some member from the public asks for it, and the board gives it to them. You shouldn't do that. I mean, you can share them amongst yourself as much as you want, but just don't share them with the public.
Okay. So I'll get you guys that this week and we can have a discussion on it, and I'll see if I get another one in. And then last week I had something in a drainage district, DD9, which is north of the county home. Got a call from residents up there. There is a suck hole in the ditch, and I suspect it's from a connection between two laterals, but we're not positive. So you guys are the drainage district representatives. How do you want to proceed? Do you want Rachel to call a contractor to come dig it, look at it, or, you know, should we dig it? I mean, the hole right now is in our ditch, but I don't know how far it goes into private property. It needs to be looked at to see if there's anything plugged.
Which ditch and where?
It's the east ditch just north of the county home where the waterway is. I've got a lath out
Is it
there.
up by the intersection?
It's just north of it's just north of the tree line on the east side of the county home.
So it's physically in the county
It's,
road ditch?
it's in the county road ditch right now, but that's where the suck hole is. We don't know if there's any blockage further downstream, which would be south and east. But we can certainly go into the ditch and dig it up and try to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
I think
First step, yeah. You're thinking the tile separated and it's sucking.
Well, I'm not quite sure what's going on in there. It's kind of a decent sized suck hole.
Does the drainage district map show that that's the location of the tile?
Yeah, it shows where there might be a connection of two.
I'd just have a contractor do it, and we'll have the contractor build for the drainage district.
Because I think
fees.
we're tying in, I think there's a 12-inch in there by the looks of it.
Pretty good size, yeah.
There's a 10, I think, hard to read this. I think there's a 10-inch and a 6-inch or an 8-inch that might be tying into a 12, so.
There's a big one up by the stop sign that crosses the road from
Mhm.
the north that comes south. We fixed that, and I believe that actually crosses the road, goes west, and then comes back across the road again, I think.
Well, and this map is showing two lines running parallel with the road, and then one crosses, and I think where those two meet
Okay.
is where there might be a
That's
suspect.
probably that same tile, wouldn't it be? That'd be the same
Yeah.
tile.
Anyway, maybe it's easier to track the billing if we just get somebody to come in and do it than try to have us break down billing and everything else to.
And
Right.
that's what they do is fix tiles.
We wanted to, talking to the adjacent landowners a little bit, kind of maybe didn't want to get in anybody's beans, but at least do some exploratory right now and find out what's going on, so we can find out, because there might be some private tile tied into it. They want to make sure that's draining, so. I will, call a contractor.
Because the landowner's responsible for the cost, correct, or?
What he did
It's an
this-
assessment project. Usually, anything within the right-of-way ends up being assessed back to the LPA, to us, the secondary roads, since we have right-of-way. But beyond that, it's shared among all landowners. And this is a repair. You really can't remonstrate a repair. You can't stop a repair. You have to do a repair, so.
Correct, yep.
There's gonna be costs, and they're probably gonna have to be assessed, but we don't know how much they are yet, so. Okay, we'll get that one going. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, so. I don't have much else for you this morning. The rock run's going up in the northeast and southwest yet. I think a few more days in each one, and we'll be done with that, so.
Guess
And
I actually thought you were pretty much done.
I think they're still crushing a little bit of rock to get the final quantities, so. And then I'm working on a bridge design just north of Stacyville on the monument there. That little bridge just north of the cemetery's gotta get replaced, so we're working on that. Any questions, comments?
Did the pile start to get bearing, and then did the drive
These,
through?
these
or-
last two they were driving pretty easy, so I don't.
All the way?
Yeah, I was told they were going in pretty easy, the
Oh.
last two, and it's really weird where you can get that many pile in an
Yeah.
area, but I've seen it happen where you can drive a bunch of pile and you can get, I've had it happen before where you're driving pile and you're getting 40 feet on a pile and the one next to it, or you're getting 10 feet on a pile and then one next to it will go 40 feet because you hit a crevice, so I don't know what's down there, but we'll have to do some add-ons and see if they can get bearing. They didn't get it yesterday, so we did a retap today.
Was there much cut off on the other ones?
I haven't been out there to see. I think there was going to be maybe 5 feet.
Okay.
So we'll have to see.
I was gonna go out there and I still haven't made it.
They're going to work on the north end and try to get all that done before they jump to the south end, because the south end they got to put coffers up so they can get down in without having water in there. So they're going to try to do the north end stuff first. So at least up until they get the abutment where they can. They're going to do the concrete work up until where they place beams, and then they'll go to do the other side, so they don't have to move equipment back and forth. Okay.
Okay.
Kirkwood and Hickory, any?
Getting an update. I've been emailing the consultant on where we're at with that. He hasn't responded yet, so I sent him another one today. I've been talking to a few people. So we've got most of the pipe out there, from what I've been told, they look pretty good. A lot of them are already wide. Might be a couple of them that might need a little bit of attention, so when we get closer, we'll get some stuff done here before fall on any replacements if we need to.
Where was that at?
The Kirkwood and Hickory.
Oh, okay, yeah, I had a couple of landowners
Yes,
ask me
I've had
about that
calls
too.
too. I've just talked to some
Okay.
people. Just want to know where it's at.
Have a meeting with the landowners before harvest or something,
Yeah.
or,
Well, hopefully by then we're going through right away and things like that. so.
okay, that was the concerns. And then, I had another thing, the railroad crossing in Carpenter is really rough. I mean, what can we do with that?
I've called the railroad several times. I know Carpenter's called the railroad several times. One of the crossings is actually the elevators crossing. One of them is the UP, or the railroad through there.
Oh, really? Okay. Which one's the rough? One of them's a lot
Well,
worse than the
I
other.
think the spur is actually probably the better one. The one I think. I'm
Yeah,
almost.
I guess I should look too.
I think the one is the spur that goes to the elevator. I thought that was theirs, and then the through line is the railroads. And the one with the wooden ties is
Oh,
the
yeah,
main one, and that
that's-
one's
yeah.
rough. And
Rougher, wow. Yeah.
I've made calls and I think I've
Yeah.
even sent emails.
Would it do any good for the county attorney to send a letter to the railroad or anything? Was that
Doubt it.
a thing? I don't know. I
The
just don't know.
railroad is more powerful than we are.
Well,
They have the opinion that we were here first, meaning the railroad. We
I
were
can send
here
another
first.
email.
it wouldn't hurt, because I mean, it's bad.
I know it's
That thing's
people-
been like that for years.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
I'm wondering that too,
Most people don't like it, and some people do because it slows traffic
Oh, yeah.
down, but it's still rough. It's still
Yeah,
not.
that's been like
If you don't slow down,
You know, we've been doing weekend with potholes, even though there's an argument whether or not we should actually be in there right away fixing the potholes, but it's, if they do something, we gotta pay for it. If we do something, we gotta pay for it. So it doesn't matter, we're paying for it.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to keep the potholes up, but really the biggest issue is where the
Oh, yeah.
rails and the road
It
meet.
is, yeah.
So I'll send,
Okay,
I'll see if I
yeah.
can send another, but I've talked to the city too, and I asked them to call, I've called.
Yeah, I know they said they have to, and all they get told is they're on the list, you know.
Well, and I know there's not a lot of, well, like anything else, I know that what I've been told is there's not a lot of railroad money out there either, at least for grant purposes. I mean, they do railroad crossing improvements and they're 5 to 10 years out on funding.
But I see they're doing the railroad crossing in Toterville.
That could have been
was close
something
to
they
that.
planned 10 years ago, I don't know. Well,
But that
and
one's smooth.
And,
You know,
well, and
that's
that
not-
railroad's a spur on a, I don't know.
Different line.
Different line, whether it's, I don't know who funds all that
Yeah.
stuff, but yeah.
Unless they're just replacing the rails or something. But I mean, that crossing really needed nothing unless it needs new rails, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it's a different railroad, so. Yep.
And then we're taking those plows today. I don't know if there was an actual set, but at least we got them out there. Mark, I
Okay.
don't know if you've gotten any answer on an exact location, but if we need to move them, we can.
that. Yeah, and I talked to Audrey and she didn't know, so
Okay.
I was gonna talk to her today, and but if they're already out there, they.
We put them out there. I don't know. We took some, there was some sidewalk debris removed this morning. There was about two loader buckets full of sidewalk debris that the fair board wanted to get rid of, so we just kind of grabbed it and Go back to our
One of
yard.
them were out there, they probably had an idea where to put them in, probably didn't they?
Yeah, they talked to somebody and they said, well, if they're not in the right place, I just didn't know if you had
No,
talked to
they did
anybody.
not.
Got
She had
okay.
got, I think Adam, is it, no, she's gonna get hold of him and haven't heard nothing.
Well, we set them out there, and if they're wrong, just let us know.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
can move them. So,
That'll be good.
There any comments or questions other for Rich?
okay,
All right, Rich, thank you.
thank you.
Moving down, discussion and possible action on Mitchell County Jail HVAC system. And Jim, I'll let you have the floor.
All right. So we had consulting for engineering firm called Midwest Engineering walk through the sheriff's office jail facility to assess what we have for the current system, and they put together a proposal as far as what they think would need to be done for this. The current system is about 20 years old, and on the application you see that they have a range of $500,000 to $1 million to do the project. The reason there's such a wide range is each system is unique, and he based his estimate off of a couple other projects they did. Plus, we've had such bizarre pricing things for construction, he really didn't have an idea as far as how to place it. So that's why that range is so much. They based it off their fees would be 8.5% off of actual construction costs, and they would do all facets of the project in regards to design the project. They would take care of the bidding process as far as putting it out for bids. They do actually project administration and inspection of the project. They'd come visit us every couple weeks to tell us how things are going. They do the whole thing. I believe they are on the line. Andrew, are you on the line?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so I'll divert, if the board has any questions, or the sheriff, I know he had some questions also. You might be able to answer them much better than what I did. I just wanted to give an overview initially of it. So does anybody have any questions for Andrew about the project?
Sheriff, you
I
better.
just had a couple of comments, but you kind of answered one of the comment questions. Jim, thanks for working on this. My concern was of the wide range of estimate, from $500,000 to $1 million. It would be nice if you could come in and tell us it's going to be $675,000 or whatever, so that it, with that range, I'm concerned it'd be $1 million. And if we don't get the grant, what do we do?
I'll answer first, and then Andrew, I think the deal is that they would design the project, and then they would have a much better idea as far as what it's going to cost to do it. And when we did the walk around, some of the I'll call piping that's down there, it was my hope that some of that could actually be reused in a savings cost. There again, that's part of the design, and they would know more about that after they get the design done. Another thing that I didn't mention is that facility is a 24/7 facility where it has to be open all the time. So they have, it's not like they can shut it down, do the construction, and then open it back up. So that's another facet in regards to. Andrew, what do you have for comments about that stuff?
Yeah, so my first comment regarding my change in pricing, we have not yet, we've only briefly toured the facility, but, in order for us to do design, we would need a much more in-depth visit, get measurements, and actually evaluate which the options are feasible. So there are many different HVAC systems that we could potentially do, but we would first have to get a better evaluation of the existing field conditions. So what we plan on doing is we plan on creating a decision matrix for the various HVAC options. You can go from a relatively basic HVAC system, which might be on the lower end, to a much higher end HVAC system, which will be on the higher end. But like I said, since we haven't done a detailed design, it's very difficult to put a pin on exactly how much this HVAC like to do is come in, do some more evaluation, get some measurements, and then present the board with some options, and we would, what we would like to do is to make it together that will evaluate each system based on various criteria, depending on how you weigh each individual criteria, and make a recommendation from there. And from then we can maybe get a more accurate price for how much it's going to cost.
And when you say criteria, what you mean is possible options of different HVAC systems. Maybe I know one of the thoughts was Dave was wondering if we would be able to just tap into the geothermal system of the courthouse. Your initial visit thought we might be close to our max with the courthouse as far as the wells that we have, but when you say feasibility, you mean different systems that could be available that we could look at and then decide which way we want to go. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And regarding the geothermal field, I did some off the back of the envelope calculations, not terribly fancy, but right now, based on my off the back of the envelope calculations, that geofuel could be enough to handle the courthouse without any additional supplemental heating or cooling. Once you start adding the jail on there, you're going to see much bigger temperature swings in your ground temperature. So you may need, so if you were to tap into that geothermal loop, you may need to supplement it with additional heating or cooling.
Okay. Did some of that answer your question, Sheriff? Or?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Secondly, in order to look out for taxpayer dollars, we need to have, some comparison bids down the road, review those things, or is this the company that handles these types of HVAC systems?
Yeah, so what we would do is we would design the system, and, once we get your go-ahead, or we sat down with a little bit of time, we get your go-ahead, we will issue the fitting document. So this project, as well as this project, regardless of which option you're going to go with, you're going to be above that threshold for which you're going to need to do public bidding on this. So it'll be public bidding. We will request both bid bonds and forms and payment bonds from each individual contractor who submits a bid. So then basically the lowest, we typically recommend that whoever has the lowest bid of the base bid, whichever alternate that you go at, would be getting the job.
And I think the sheriff also might have been indicating in regards to the consultant being you, as far as if the consultant that we're looking at is giving us the best price and the best option, if we should consider another consultant's thoughts on the project. I did ask Dave. Dave is the one that thought that we should contact you, and so I asked him why it was you guys. And he said that the people that did the HVAC system to the courthouse, the contractor, they recommended your consulting firm because they felt you were very good. And so that's why we have initially contacted you. Does that answer your question too, Sheriff?
It does, Jim.
Okay.
And then I have one final one. It's just for my own curiosity, but I was going through their senior engineers and the hourly rates they pay folks. Why do we pay an intern $48 an hour on this project?
The rates you see there, the cost of the project is 8.5% of the construction cost, and then if there's anything above and beyond the project of the original design, that's when those fees come into effect. So if we wanted a different air conditioner in one part of the building than what the design was, well, then they'd have to assess those fees make something like that happen. That's a poor example, but, so the cost is based on the construction cost of the project.
I had just noticed the intern was gonna get $48 an hour.
Okay.
I was curious on that.
Yeah, I don't have that answer.
Yeah, thank you, that's all I have.
Yeah.
And I trust Dave's opinion, and so we'll move forward with whatever the board decides, but thank you for looking at it.
And we don't have to have action today, that's just on here, but
Yeah.
we need to at least look at it.
I guess my question is the same as echoing the sheriff's. Is there another engineering firm out there you can get a second opinion, or is this the only one in town? I see they're from Coralville.
And what's their 8.5%? Is
Yeah.
that kind of, yeah, I don't know if that's the going rate with all engineering firms, or,
He said I asked him that, he said he based it as far as some of their travel distances a little further, so it's,
okay.
I don't know how much higher it is than normal,
Okay.
but they base that on as far as how far away they are from the project.
Is he still on there?
I believe so.
Are you still on there?
Yes, I'm still
Okay.
fine.
I was just curious.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, one thing I was curious about is, what do you think of the current system? Is it over-designed, or?
The current system, it's not necessarily that it's over-designed, it's just that everything is kind of approaching the end of its useful life at pretty much exactly the same time. There are several parts of the existing system, for example, the boiler room that would not meet state code, for example. There are other drawbacks as well, like, for example, you have all these, condensing units that are on the public right-of-ways, and they make a lot of noise. The current code says you should be, I think, 55 decibels at that property line, which I know that this system does not meet. So there are some issues with the existing system, and from what I could gather from my field observations is that, some incidental repairs and replacements of broken air handling units have already been done. But it's basically patchwork to keep it going as long as possible.
Okay, yeah, I was just because I kind of looked at it one day with Dave, and I thought, looked like a lot for that size of building, but.
Yeah, no, the current building, as far as cooling capacity goes, and heating capacity goes, it's not necessarily over-designed, but because it's a very, very heavy, it needs that cooling capacity to get down to the temperature, or get up to the temperature that you need it to. But because there's so much concrete in that building, because that building is basically entirely made entirely of concrete and bricks, there's a lot of thermal mass, so once it gets up to temperature, it's cold. So, and that's, at that point, you start to see that, okay, you don't need that much heating or cooling capacity once it's up to temperature.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about what you thought of it.
Well, any other supervisors have any questions? Comments? I know it's brought up that we don't have to have action today, but if we don't, what is our other recourses, Dave? Is there any other?
Well, it's probably getting close to the end of its useful life. I agree with that. 'Cause
Well,
As far as another firm,
I'm referring to another firm.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'd have to look into it.
this late stage of the game, if we want to use this under the CARES Act, we might not be wanting to horse around too much.
He's got on his proposal that he'd like to, it's on here, these dates. And Andrew, you can clarify this to, start the design work end of August, bid it this coming January, cooling system in August and next summer, and heating system by October of next summer. And he's doing that somewhat because of the facility being a 24/7 facility. Doesn't want to be doing work in the wintertime when we have heating problems. So.
Right, and that's why that's why on our time frame we issue it in sometime in January. That way, by the time March rolls around, hopefully there's a contract, there's a contractor lined up and they can begin the work in end of March, early April, when the temperature's more moderate, so to speak. And in our evaluation of various different HVAC systems, we will evaluate the details of how each HVAC system is installed so that it doesn't interrupt facility operations, or limit the interruption of facility operations, I should say.
I guess what my concern is that the length of time it's taking to get this accomplished. I don't want something to happen with the systems. If it would fail, the sooner we get at this, the better we might be. But again, other comments from supervisors?
Andrew, I know you're just engineering part, but how do you feel about the material? Is it out there to be, to get, or is that something we're going to have issues with?
As far as, sorry, can you clarify that question a little bit?
Well, the material, like your the tin and air conditioners and boilers and all that, the piping, is that available at this time? The materials are hard to come by, and
so that's also why we would like to get this out for bid in January, because there have been some components that have had long lead times, as much as between 8 and 16 weeks in some cases. If you issue it out for bid and we get a contract in place and we review shop drawings early, once we review the shop drawings of what the contractor plans on installing and get those approved, then that can be released. The shop drawing of the equipment, it can be released. The manufacturer will begin either constructing it, building it, manufacturing it, or getting it ready to ship, whatever. But the sooner we get those done, the sooner those will be delivered off site. Usually in the summertime, there is usually a rush on material, particularly for entities like schools, for example, who kind of like you have a very narrow construction window to limit operations. So usually in the summertime, you see an uptick in construction, and that leads to longer lead time. And what I'd like to try and do is try and get ahead of that as much as we can.
I think he answered
he's
answered what I've been worried about, is we want to jump on this.
Yeah, dragging
We
our
might
feet
want to
could
get
be-
this going, because getting components, getting everything lined up, this is a time consuming, and as more people are jumping on the bandwagon with the CARES Act, and other places are going to be doing the same thing as we are, we might want to jump on this as fast as we can to get what we need. Get it accomplished, and they get the materials we need for them to do the job. If that come out right.
It did. I've been thinking about one of the things the sheriff said in regards to if this doesn't qualify for the ARP funding, and there is a way that we can, any of these projects, so far, the majority of them, when they start coming in, we have $2.04 million that we're going to get. there's a very strong possibility that there's a way that we can pay for these if some of these do not qualify for some reason, and it's not by using tax increment financing. So, I don't want to have to go to the taxpayers and have a public hearing that says, oh, we need $1 million now. I don't think we're going to have to do that.
This should qualify anyway.
I think it will, yes, but I know, he had that question, so I've been thinking about that, and I really think this will qualify. In an application, I put down, you know, ventilation, and something that Andrew said during our walkthrough, one of the big things that they're saying now is humidity, that you should have a certain level of humidity in a building rather than drying your nose out. That's a healthy thing, and then this design is taking that into account also, or will.
Yeah. I know all the commercial equipment like that too is made to order. It ain't like it's sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So you do have to get it designed, ordered, it's a process. So.
I'm almost certain this will qualify.
Yeah.
I am too.
If this don't qualify, nothing probably will. We
Correct.
can't buy $2 million in rubber gloves.
Yeah.
You gotta spend it somewhere.
Exactly.
I mean, not just to spend it, but this is definitely
Yeah.
Good reason.
I mean, you can only buy so many gloves.
Agreed.
It's more of a need than a want, you know, it needs to be done.
Well, the thing's gonna fail sometime,
Right.
and then
This is gonna be
if
when
we
you-
don't pay for it this way, then we are gonna go
Yep.
searching for money.
Again,
Yeah,
if it fails and we don't have anything lined up, trouble.
Yep.
And that puts a lot of burden on our sheriff and his people, and where we're,
Dave.
Dave, and so,
Got enough headaches. So, anyways,
I have one more question.
This is Mark, could I just add one quick comment here? I know you hate to hear this word, but just in case that grant doesn't go through, there's always a possibility of using TIF funding rather than, you know, having the taxpayers pay for it. So just throwing that out there. I know a lot of you don't like that word, but this might be an appropriate use for it.
Mark, wouldn't local option sales tax also work for this? We probably have over $1 million in there right now, and
Local option sales tax would work, but I think that when you did the last TIF funding, it was so you could save that local option sales tax for a different project. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use it, I'm not saying you should, I just want everybody to know there's grant money, if that falls through, there's local option sales tax or TIF. Either one could be used for the project.
thank you.
okay. Mike, did you have a question?
Well, I had one more question. Is there such a thing as having two engineering firms do a design and then decide which one you want to go with, or is that not an option? Or do we have to sign on with one? I don't know who I'm asking. Everybody.
I'm sure
I
they
guess.
have a fee for their services.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
they're
right.
gonna do it for free. so.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That
that's why I'm asking. I don't know.
That might be a nightmare, but.
This is a
between
little,
two.
this is a little different than the heating system in our house.
Oh, yeah,
You
right,
know,
I
there's a lot
realize
more
that,
involved
yeah.
here, so I
Yep,
wouldn't think
yep.
they would do it for free.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how do we want to proceed with this then?
Well,
Would you like to table it, or would you like to have an action?
I'll make a motion, and then if you guys agree to it, you'll vote yes. If you wanna wait on it, you vote no, and we'll think about it. How's that sound?
I think so.
I'll move to approve the proposal by Midwest Engineering to do improve the HVAC renovation to the Public Safety Center.
Jim has made a motion. I'll second it. Do we have any further discussion?
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Nay.
Mike?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
So that motion has passed. So hopefully, this will be a good thing for the sheriff's office, and we won't have any issues going on with this.
Yeah. Can I still ask him a question?
You might, you can have the
But
floor.
at what point in time would you have a concrete, estimate on this project for us to
I'd say
approve?
once we get to about, once we finalize our concept, so we would first have schematic design, which is basically coming up with a concept. Once we have the concept down, we have our equipment size, so that would be design development. Once we've kind of developed the design, to a point where, okay, now everything's laid out, but we have an idea of how big everything needs to be, how many of the different pieces of equipment we'll need. We can then go to contractors and equipment vendors and get budget prices for you. So once we have some more direction as far as which way you want to go with your HVAC system, and we have everything sized and selected, and we can get some budget prices, and then we'll get a better idea of where in that price range we can expect to solve it. Do you understand that even if I give you a price, it can still vary plus or minus 20%, because there are certain things that we can't predict, such as existing fuel conditions that may be difficult to install equipment. We also can't predict exactly what the material prices are going to do, between now and the time that this is taken. And we also can't really predict contractor availability. We're trying to get ahead of it, but for all we know, from the time from between now and by the time this is taken, all the contracts might already have been booked up. So we can give you kind of a median price, but it's still going to have a plus or minus 20%, as far as where in that price range is going to fall.
Okay. Like what month, or, that's a timeline is kind of what I was looking.
As far as timeline for giving you that estimate, I reckon once we have design development done with the second stage of the design, we're probably looking at middle to end of October, I reckon.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. I just, if we have other projects to use that money for, we kind of know where we're at then, That's kind of where I was getting.
Right.
Okay, maybe it is your okay. Okay. Just so we have an idea, a closer idea.
And Andrew, I got one last thing too, dealing with former projects. You had mentioned earlier that you would oversee us every couple weeks. Personally, I'd like to, if possible, during this, maybe you could be here a little more often and check how the progress is going and keep everybody updated, if possible.
So you would like us to check in more than once every couple of weeks? You want to come up like once a week?
That would be awesome if you could. I know there's a lot of questions, dealing with a lot of, the installers and the construction people, and I'd hate to have things held up. I know emails and phone calls, but if possible, once a week would be great to meet with everybody.
Okay. just so you know that the basis of the contract is once every 2 weeks, so so this would be, this would be part of the out of scope activities would be billed at the hourly rate. We can do that, but it would be billed at the hourly rate.
Okay, well, just make sure we keep things rolling, because a jail is, we got a lot of things going on over there, so I don't want anything to be held up, so. Thank you, that's okay, that's all I needed.
Okay. We have, so what we're looking at as far as our next date, what we plan on doing is bringing up a 3D scanner to scan to create a 3D model of the existing conditions in mechanical rooms, so that we can get a pinpoint accurate model of what states have to work with it. We plan on doing that on the week of the 16th. So if anybody has any objections, comments, or concerns.
Sheriff?
August 16th.
August 16th, correct?
The week of August 16th. We haven't quite finalized dates yet, but I just wanted to check the availability and make sure that there's some availability. There's availability on our end, but I want to make sure that you have availability as well. So.
I think we can do that here, can't we, David?
I do have the 20th scheduled off. I honestly wouldn't have to be there for that.
Yeah, I'll be there. I've got no concerns. I'll help them out wherever they need, so.
That sounds like the 16th, August 16th week would be fine.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. In that case, what I want to do is let's see, I think my best date is August 19th. Does that work? Does that work for you, David?
Yes, yep.
All right, okay. So August 19th. 3D. All right. I will check with the 3D scanner availability to know that it was needed for 1 day that week. I'll double check and make sure that it doesn't have to be that day. And then David, I will give you a call back.
Okay.
That sounds good, Andrew. I'm sure you and Jim will be in touch with each other to keep us.
Yeah, you email me whenever something's happening, and I'm not gonna be here on the 19th, I've got a meeting somewhere else, but there again, it's not that I have to be here for that 3D scanner, so, but email me whenever you have information, that'd be great. And I'll forward it on to everybody.
All right, excellent.
All right. So hopefully we have resolved everything here in this, all we need to discuss on this. Correct? All right, Andrew, thank you for being here today.
So I guess do you need the chairman to sign that proposal, or somebody to sign that proposal and then get that back to you then? Is that the process we're at right now?
Yeah, we need the authorized agents to sign the proposal, and basically just email it back to us, email us a digital copy. That works fine for us. So yeah, I think that's all we'll need for now.
Okay.
Okay, we can get that accomplished. Thank you, Andrew. Have a good rest of the day.
All right, thank you very much. You have a great day.
Moving on, items of note, meetings attended. Jim.
I had a Port Authority meeting last week, and so when we had an engineering study done in regards to get natural gas through Worth County and into the northern part of Mitchell County. That was done a while back. And what the study said is that in order to justify a line, you need to have what's called an anchor. And an anchor is a very high-end user that will draw a lot of BTUs, a lot of natural gas. Mitchell County lost the anchor, so that whole project kind of went to the wayside because of that. Well, now in Worth County at the Manly Terminal, there's all of a sudden it's popped up that there's a very large anchor that wants to be there. They actually probably would have signed already if natural gas was there for them, but it's not. They want natural gas there by, and this has to do with Mitchell County. It's not, I'm talking about Worth County here, but it has to do with Mitchell County also. They want natural gas there by July of '23 in order to say, yep, we'll dig to do this. And because that anchor is there, there's also two others that might, which were classified as anchors, that would also go there. That original study had a couple different things as far as bringing northern natural gas out from Joyce straight over, or there was another one that was down by Ventura, which is a lot bigger line. It's called Northern Border Pipeline. They have a lot more volume and they have a lot more pressure available at that location. That one was not being considered at that time because it's more digging to get up to Worth County from that line. So that one's being considered now to get to Manly because they have what it takes to feed that project. My concern was at the meeting was that if you bring that big line, if you bring a line up from Ventura, you come up through Saragota County, then you get up to Manly. Yeah, we can feed these three anchors that are in Manly, and there's probably still enough volume to get over to Mitchell County if we ever need some. But then if Saragota County starts tapping into it, we might still be in the same situation in the future that, well, we got this line that Worth County paid for to get to Manly. Now everybody's tapped off on it, and now we still won't have the possibility to bring in natural gas into some of our county. If Grain Millers wants to expand, or if we get an anchor, St. Ansgar, who knows, McIntyre or whatever, we might not have natural gas. So there's only one thing that we could do, and this isn't something that I know if I really want to do, but there was just an idea. Somebody said, well, there's a possibility when they put that line in, if Mitchell County was to, originally it was going to be a 12-inch line that was going to go up there, this first study. Well, Mitchell County pays for a 14-inch line. You pay for that extra 2 inches, and then it's contracted that Mitchell County is guaranteed that extra volume for that, what that 2 inches brings. Nobody else can ever have that. That's one thought. I don't know what's available in Mitchell County for other projects, if we ever had something. It's just information is what I'm telling, what I'm saying, is all. So.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just information.
okay.
That's it?
Okay, no other meetings then?
No?
Mike?
Oh, I had a substance abuse coalition board meeting, and there was a lot more members present this time. And I know there's a grant for tobacco use that Mitchell County can get, so through public health, so I'm gonna talk to Laura about that. And went to the Carpenter City Council meeting Sunday night again, so talking about the sewage. Working on that yet, so nothing concrete there yet either. Just, that was it.
I didn't have a meeting, so.
At County Social Service meeting, them two folks that were here talking about expanding that, we okayed the money to give them to look for a property. So they're gonna start looking, and I went with Mike and Rachel to Carpenter, backing up Mike. He didn't need any. No, that's gonna be a mess there, but
Yeah,
we'll get it straightened out.
yep. Starting to do there. Yeah, it's a mess. Yep.
That's all I have.
The two people you're referring to, Sam Hudson and his person?
Correct, yeah, sorry about that, yeah.
Okay.
They're
That
gonna
was-
start looking for another facility to add on to their bedding, patient load.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. Tom?
I had none.
Okay.
Fair this week. I'm on the fair board committee, so, but come and support if you're available.
Okay.
That's it.
Moving on. clerk of court report for June. And it says here, I, Stacy Olson, clerk of district court for the above-named county and state, do hereby certify the following is true and correct. A statement of fees are collected by me in my office for the month ending June 30th of 2021, and the total is $2,407.45. So, anyways, so noted. Moving down to public comment. Looks like, Charlie, you got anything to say? Oh, hearing nothing, I guess this is the tail end of the meeting. Do we have any motions to adjourn?
I move to make that motion.
Todd has made a motion.
I'll second.
Mike has seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say the same. Meeting is over.